Alright guys, I have the Cold Steel Trailhawk. This one has been around for a long time. Also the Cold Steel Rifleman's Hawk. There's a significant weight difference between the two. They have the same handle though. A couple things you might want to know about these. It's relatively soft steel. This is not really hard steel. These are kind of advertised as throwers and choppers. It's called the Trailhawk. It's called the Rifleman's Hawk. It's not meant to be a replacement for a full-on axe. It's really not trying to be that at all. But they're pretty useful. They serve more than one function. In fact, I'm going to use them as throwers in a competition we're doing at church pretty soon here. And I think we have a couple more of them. I think you guys are actually really going to enjoy it because these are very easy to throw as long as you understand the slow throw. You're not trying to whip them, go really, really fast. They're not meant to be like those little short ones where you might get several spins. These are probably 1-2 spins at the most, and weighted very, very well. Both of them have hammerheads. This is obviously really small. You got to be a good shot with that if you're going to pound in a tent stake. But the head overall is very light and very, very sharp. It's very thin. It does not have a very thick head to it. So if you can see that, you're able to thin it down and get a really good edge. It does not come with a good edge. Both of these came relatively dull, unimpressive. If you have a work sharp, especially a Ken Onion or even a stone, you will be able to get that down eventually. With the Ken Onion, obviously it was much quicker. 10 minutes on there and looking pretty sharp. Very much so shaving sharp, but not a fragile edge. And so I'm pretty happy with these both. I think this one I'll be able to get thinner in the future. I did not spend quite as much time on the Rifleman's Hawk. You can see that, but it is a really, really good tomahawk. It throws great, sticks in great, but it's got a more generous cutting edge here by a significant portion. You can compare those two and see that beard that drops down, there's quite a bit more. That being said, it's also heavier and it's not quite as easily held in hand for being maneuverable, using it like a knife, making feathers, that kind of thing. It's just a little bit more awkward because of that broadness. This feels a little bit more knifey in your hand when you choke up on it. You can get closer to the edge, whereas with the Rifleman's Hawk, it's going to be a little more difficult to reach up there and get really close unless you have big hands. So pretty good so far. Some of the use I'm going to go ahead and throw in right now. Okay, first thing I did some chopping tests. So I tried to get pretty equal pieces of wood. I'm just using tulip poplar, something I needed to take down anyways, so it was handy. And that's only 4 inches, something like that. 3 one way, 4 inches the other way. And it's probably still pretty green, to be honest with you. And so it chops really nice. You can tell here that there's a difference between the two hawks. The Rifleman's Hawk, which is a heavier hatchet axe, if you want to call it that. It's really more of just a straight tomahawk, but it's got a nice long handle comparatively, and so you get a little leverage there. It's a little more weight. The edges on both these did not come very good, but it chops through with pretty minimal effort. After I put on a shaving sharp edge, thinned it out a little bit. Good amount of weight behind the head there, good balance, not hard to find the target, and it takes out good big chunks. I'm not sure if this Trailhawk took more effort or not. I'll have to go back and count how many chops it took. I think accuracy wise I was a little better with the Rifleman's Hawk because it has a bigger bit and it's easier to kind of land in the same area. You have to be a little more accurate with the Trailhawk, and it's much lighter as well, but at the same time it's sharper and it really digs in. If you can see, I'm getting stuck every once in a while. It's definitely sharp, it definitely digs in, and it did take out significant portions of wood on some green wood. A dead hardwood would be probably more interesting, but this is what I had laying around. Not a lot of weight behind that Trailhawk, still gets it done. So the next thing I decided to do was to do a little bit of splitting. Just, it's functional, it's a tomahawk, kind of in between that axe and hatchet territory, and so it's good to see what it can split, something it should be able to do, and it splits perfect. I think both of them are really, really good for their size and weight. Comparably to other things on the market, which you're going to see out there, I think they do well. But again, I've put my own edge on these, and so the Rifleman's Hawk is probably a little bit thicker and more convex. The Rifleman's Hawk split better than the Trailhawk did, but the Trailhawk really didn't have trouble. It just sinks in pretty deep. I think if you had some almost soggy wood or pretty wet wood, you might have trouble separating those fibers. It might sink in there pretty good, or like something like elm, knotty wood, that extra weight from the Rifleman's hawk behind the head and in front of the head, that beard, it just pops the wood a little nicer than the Trailhawk did. One quick note I'll make as you watch some of this B-roll is that the heads on these are comparably different. One is sort of a modified octagon. It's kind of an oval octagon. That's the Rifleman's hawk, and it's definitely bigger and heavier and more easy to aim and hit your target, like if you're pounding in tent stakes or something. And the Trailhawk, that's pretty small. That's a really small piece of steel there, but if you're just schwacking, you know, tent stakes or a nail or something like that, it's really easy to choke up and be close and accurate with this. So no complaints. I just know that the Rifleman's hawk is much more functional when it comes to actually using the head on things like a tent stake or a nail. When it comes down to using the two of these for like removing material, making feather sticks, making notches, you can go ahead and watch this B-roll while I talk. I would say it just feels more knife-like with the Trailhawk. You know, I do have a thinner edge here. It's definitely shaving sharp. It's thin. It's easy for me to get up close to the edge. It just feels a little more like a knife. And that could be because there isn't that big beard that the Trailhawk has, and it's a thin contour. It could be that. Maybe it's a little lighter, so it's more maneuverable in hand. That could be it. But the Trailhawk still gets it done. Even though it's thicker and heavier, and it's got that drop-down beard, making notches with this was not difficult. I think it did a very reasonable job for what it had to do. So again, if you were just plowing tent stakes out, you needed to carve some and also pound them into the ground. The Rifleman's hawk is heavier, but it definitely does a good job. So there they are, guys. Overall, I didn't want to do a talking head video today. I just wanted to use the things and show you a brief bit of that footage. I don't really have a lot of other commentary on it, but if you have questions, you can go ahead and comment those down below and I'll try to get after them pretty soon here. Again, you're looking at a substantial difference between the length, the width, the size, the weight, except for the handles. The handles are the same. You're going to have the same reach, but with one, you're probably going to have a little bit better splitting, possibly a little better chopping when it comes to dead hardwoods, and then also just more weight as far as using it like a hammer on the anvil side. The Trailhawk, though, is definitely worthwhile. These are very affordable. I don't have complaints about them at this price range. You know, you can get these things, especially when they're on sale, for around 20 bucks, and they work really well as throwers. All right, I'm really not too good at this, but I'm going to give it a few throws just to show you that even I can do it, and I'm really not that great at it. If I had to pick, I would say that the Rifleman's Hawk throws a little bit better, and the Trailhawk, I think, sticks a little better. And so I'll probably thin this out a little bit and get the same performance here. I'll practice a little bit with this and get the same performance I'm having here. So either way, guys, I think you could pick either one of these and they would both be a win. I like them. Similar price. Go check them out on Amazon right now. Bugs everywhere. Bugs, bugs.